I'm going to be talking about a fairly significant trigger that I experienced today. And so, trigger warning for CSA, maybe especially kind of like harassment based stuff, but also if hearing really sexist, gross, like creepy perpetrator based beliefs might be too triggering for you, then this is not the TikTok for you. My husband and I follow somebody on YouTube who kind of partners with somebody else. And today she came out saying that she was like cutting all ties with this person, and she explained why. And the reason why was this person had this like public, I don't know if it was a podcast or a video, but he was talking about some like relationship stuff and shared some like really gross stuff. And she's like, I have no interest in working with this partner anymore. So, and I want that to be like really clear that I don't support the beliefs that he was sharing in this video, and that if I knew he had like believed these things, I wouldn't have ever partnered with him and that kind of a thing. But in like kind of explaining all of this, she played some audio, and in it he was talking about why he doesn't live with his girlfriend. And the reason he doesn't live with his girlfriend basically is because she has an 18-year-old daughter, and he basically would get in trouble if he tried to live with them. He goes on to say that this kid will, this girl, this woman, I don't know, will walk around like wearing pajamas, and like literally just said like that she'll like wear pajamas. And if I was like living there and seeing her like walking around being a tease like that all of the time, my I'm trying to get around TikTok stuff here, so I'm gonna say some goofy stuff. Sorry, I hope I'm not trying to minimize, but my sausage would get harder, and that could potentially be visible, and so that could get me in trouble. Meanwhile, she's like walking around wearing pajamas, being a tease, and like I can't like live with that. I can't have somebody being a tease all the time, because eventually I'm going to do something about it. Absolutely disgusting and insane. So like, of course, it totally makes sense that this person that we like wanted to come out and make it clear why she is disconnecting from this person. And I started like ranting about it, even though like of course my husband totally agrees with that being disgusting. And so we're just like talking about it, and the video was still playing, and he's like, should we just like turn this off, like is this too much? And so I said, like, yeah, I do think that's probably a good idea, because we don't know if it's gonna share other like disgusting stuff that he said, and it's hitting pretty close to home. And it was like, when I thought about saying that, when I thought about saying it's hitting too close to home, I totally meant it in the like stereotypical, like metaphorical sense. But for some reason, as it like left my mouth and I like hear it in my own ears, like the home part of it really hit me. And then I thought, that was my home. And for some reason, that just, I don't know, like that just like smacked me in the face the way that triggers do. And to be more specific, my stepdad never would have said like my sausage is going to get harder. Like he would never be that blatant in admitting that he was getting a thrill out of the things he was getting a thrill out of, right? That was totally denied, totally, I'm just noticing. I'm just commenting on things I'm noticing. There's no admission of what it really was being motivated by, although I think it should be extremely clear why anybody would make lots of comments about a young girl's body. He would totally deny that part. However, he was very blatant in blaming us girls for the things he was noticing. For example, I never wore shirts that had like writing across the chest because when I first was like 9 or whatever, and when I first did, he would like comment something about my chest, and then, well, do you have a, you know, logo or whatever, a design right there? So how do you expect me to not notice? Or same thing with any sort of designs that were on like the pocket, like the back pockets or the backside of jeans. It's, well, how am I supposed to not look when, there's a design right there? And then after I could quit wearing anything that had any sort of design on any of those areas, then it became, well, it's just so tight. Your shirt is so tight. He often said painted on. It's like practically painted on, which is just so not true. For one thing, like I never was one to wear skin tight clothing. I just, like, I have like look at this shirt I'm wearing at this moment. I have some sensory issues and stuff. I don't feel comfortable in tight clothing. Not that anybody probably does, but I especially don't. And so I just was never one to wear tight clothing to begin with. But he would like pretend that clothes that fit normally or maybe even a little loosely were super tight as an excuse to explain why he couldn't help but notice our bodies. It was enough of my experience really explicitly stated that it was, pretty activating. And I also caught myself like briefly thinking like, how could anybody say that an 18-year-old just wearing pajamas in her own house is like teasing you or is asking for it or whatever? Like that's so messed up to think that, to say that. It's insane. It's like, how can anybody think that, and how can anybody date that guy who would say that about their 18-year-old daughter? And at the same time, as I think, like, how can that happen? How can that be a thing? Another part of me knows, like, I know how that can be a thing. Like, that was my life. Like, as I was saying with the home thing, like, that was my home. I lived in that home. And I moved out at 15. So it largely stopped before I was 18 because I got the fuck out of there. Like, but it started when I was 9. And so, like, 9 is only half of 18. Like, it's such a bizarre thing that, like, you can have a trauma that is, like, exactly like somebody else's. And then you can still look at it and go, like, how can anybody do that? How can anybody experience that? And it's like there's this, it's almost easier to feel upset for this 18-year-old girl that I don't know. It's like she's almost like a concept of a person to me. And yet I like get all worked up, like, what the hell is this? And then at the same time, I can think about my own experiences and not have any of that rage come up. It's just like, well, yeah, that's how it was. Like, it's a really bizarre thing to see, like, in real time, how our brains compartmentalize and try to protect us from things.